Wellity, wellity. Let's see how this goes. What do I want to do with this map? I've been kicked. Classic. Alright, so this is Supreme Commander. I could go on for hours singing the praises of this game, except that there's a good chance that if you're here watching this video, somebody's already come to you trying to tell you this. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on how this game works. It's like a very complicated game of chess. This is your commander. If he dies, you lose. There are game settings where that's not the case, but I would say 90% of the games that are played, that is going to be the case. This is the Fields of Isis. This is the second most popular map, I would probably say, from the base game. It is without water, so you won't be playing with Navy. It's often played without air to just turn it into a land war, because it has these fantastically large mountain ranges that force the game into these kind of battles at the Gulch. So, the most important thing about this particular map, I will just say before getting into more of the specifics, the first element of this game is to get to the middle. There's a whole bunch of metal here. Metal, or mass, is extremely important, and getting an engineer or your commander out here to gather this up will give you a massive advantage against your enemy, should your enemy fail to get somebody out here. Oftentimes, battles happen here over the mass, and that's perfectly fine. Learning how to fight for the mass in the middle and grab what you can and get out alive is an important skill in this game, let's just say. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just get down to some basics. So, when the game starts, your commander starts here. The most important thing is that you do not take a step. Your commander is a very efficient building machine, and if he is walking around, he's not building. He has a considerable range. He can build things far away around him, and oh, no, that's pushing it. Alright, so that's where his range is, but let's just have him go back. So you don't want to be building that far, but, you know, he can build a fair ways around himself, and certainly far enough for the beginning of the game. So, the first thing that you need when the game starts is a factory, because you need more engineers. Engineers are going to do the walking for you, so your commander can stand still in the middle here and not walk. So, land factory, a classic first option. There's a bit of a hit if you choose air factory. Air factories have a raised platform, and for the engineer to get off of the raised platform has to lower down, then raise back up, and the whole time that it's doing that, it's not building, it's, again, moving. So, you want to avoid, perhaps, using an air factory if you're a faction with a moving platform. Aeon do not have a moving platform, so they do not have a hit for choosing an air factory over a land factory, but arguably, tanks are more useful in the beginning of the game anyways. Should the other guy go for air, mobile anti-air guns. Very handy. I like to build them fairly early on. A land scout can provide radar very cheaply early on, so if you build a land scout and, say, 3 anti-aircraft guns, you are pretty well covered for defense from bombers in the early game. It doesn't take an awful lot to defend yourself from air. But if you have no defense, so the first thing, you build a factory. And then the factory, you don't actually want to build any of these tanks or artillery or these assault bots or radar. You want to get an engineer. Engineers are the way you will expand out across the map most efficiently. Your commander is very slow at walking, so you don't want him to walk. I guess I'll quickly go over another faux pas. Because you don't want him to walk when you start the game, you don't want to slap your first factory down on top of him. If you build the factory where he is, he has to walk off to the side and then start building it, and that is a waste of time. And if you're wanting to play online, if this is starting to seem a little extreme, and like worrying about little efficiencies around the edges, if you want to play with the big boys, that's kind of where we're at in the meta. You really do need to pay attention to the little things, and your commander isn't a little thing. He's the whole point of the game. He's a very efficient building machine. You want him building 100% of the time. I'm not doing it right now because this is an instructional video and there is no opponent. However, so first thing you do, you warp in, your commander builds a factory. The factory starts building engineers. I suggest building an engineer and setting it on infinite build, on repeat, so that this factory will start building engineers and it won't stop. This engineer has, down here, building options. It has slightly more options than the commander has. Your commander cannot build radar, cannot build batteries, and cannot build mass storage units. I'm getting a little bit out of sequence here. I'm going to stop this. So, the first thing you would do is to build a factory. Then the next thing you do is to build power and mass extractors. Mass extractors must be built on these mass nodes. They're these little things all around the map that if you build a mass extractor on, it will convert power into mass at a rate of 1-to-1, more or less, I think. Maybe some of the bigger mass pumps are more expensive, but this one costs 2 energy to run, and it'll give you 2 mass. Your commander also produces 1 mass. So, in the beginning, as you can see up here, my mass bar has already gone down fairly significantly. It's coming back up at a rate of 3 mass per second, but just this factory, these 2 engineers and this 1 mass extractor chewed into that pretty good. And if I was playing in real time and building quickly, it would be chewing into it even faster. So, you need to come up with an opening strategy that's going to allow you to build a handful of mass extractors and power plants without running out of either. So going 1 for 1 is not a bad idea. And so early in the game, the adjacency bonus is something that is probably helpful. The adjacency bonus is already in effect with this factory. This factory is built next to this mass extractor, and so the line, you can see there's a line connecting them, that provides a discount on mass to this building. It's a way of getting a little bit more mass out of a mass pump, especially early on. So this guy's only producing 2 mass a second, but if he's giving this guy a 1 mass discount on things that he's building, it's effectively like a 3 mass production. And then you can slap down a power generator, and the power generator will also provide an adjacency bonus to both of these buildings. I actually don't think it's going to... Oh yeah, it did. Brought it down to 1. So it cut the energy usage of this building in half just by being built next to it. And it also gives a discount on the energy use being used at this building. If you completely surround a building 100%, it gives you a grand total of a 50% discount on your energy use. In the early game, that's not actually that big of a deal, but some of the later game factories use an awful lot of energy, and the same is actually true for artillery pieces. They will fire faster if they're connected next to a power plant. The problem is the power plants are explosive. If this power plant explodes, in 4, 3, 2, pop, it does damage to the buildings next to it. And if enough power plants are all next to each other and they explode, it can do serious damage. And later on in the game, when you have giant power plants, a Tech 3 power plant, say, that your commander is standing beside, and somebody drops some bombs on the power plant, they don't even need to kill your commander, because the resulting explosion from the power plant will incinerate him. So, building power and mass. You want to make sure that your commander is in fairly short order getting all 4 mass extractors and some power plants. But you don't want to be grabbing all 4 mass extractors at once off the hop, because then your energy is going to be too low, so you want to go like 1 or 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. Just come up with some experiment. Just come up with something that feels right and get a basic energy base established. Once you've got these 4 built with your commander, you more or less just want your commander building energy. Power plants are super, super handy. You never, ever want to run out of power. You can run out of mass, but if you run out of power, your mass extractors stop working. Your radar stops working. Your shields stop working. Everything depends on power. You can build power plants anywhere. You can build as many of them as you like. This is not true of mass. Mass has to be on these mass extractor points. There's an exception we'll get to eventually, but it's resource intensive, to say the least. But energy, you can build it anywhere. You should really not be running out of energy. If you are playing this game and you are running out of energy all the time, if you are constantly out of energy, you're doing it wrong. You need to reassess your strategy. It's a really big deal to maintain a plus on your energy and maintain this full thing. You'll notice that your capacity for storage is only 750 metal and 4,000 energy, so you want to increase that. The 2 options for doing that are only available on engineers. Your commander does not have the option for building batteries or mass storage. Both of these buildings also provide adjacency bonus. The battery is highly, highly, highly explosive. It has less hit points than pretty much anything else in the game. So it is a bomb that you build in your base. Do not build it beside power plants or buildings or anything. Build it far away from your base, far from everything, because this thing is a bomb. I don't know how many times I see people surrounding their hydrocarbon power plant, which is this thing over here. It's also only available, it's not available to your commander, it's available to all other engineers. It's a hydrocarbon power plant. You only get 1 spot. There's 4 of them on the map, 1 for each person. For the cost of 3 power plants, you get the output of 5 power plants on this 1 spot. So you would send your engineers out to go and build it, and then I see people surrounding their hydrocarbon power plant with these batteries, essentially turning it into a giant bomb. So all I need to do is get a couple of guys to do a quick raid, kill 1 battery, like a bomber, a single airplane on a single pass, I think can destroy the entire facility if they've got it set up like that. Don't build batteries next to things. The adjacency bonus is not worth it, ever. Not ever. It's never worth it. These things are bombs. Build them far away from your base. You still need them, because having a large energy capacity will get you through rough moments. And you need them to be far away from your base. So this thing provides 100 power. If you surround it, it provides 150. It's not worth it. Anyways. So, I'm a little distracted, because there's a lot to get to here. So, your commander starts building these power plants, starts building these mass extractors, and then continues to build power plants. Meanwhile, the factory would have, in the background, been... I turned it off because I didn't want 100 of these guys piled up. This thing would have been building power plants more or less non-stop as... They're not power plants, engineers. Pardon my words. As the engineers are coming off the line, you're sending them off to the mass nodes. Or, like these 2 guys, because this thing is a fairly large building and it takes a long time to build, you may take 2 of them and send them both to it, and then you can line up build orders afterwards. So that he would go there, he would go here, then up to here, and then he's going to come up and build a gun, and then he's going to build some anti-aircraft turrets, and this guy who went over here, he's going to build a radar up against the mountain so that... Alright, I know radar wouldn't normally work up against a mountain, but it's a video game and it's magical radar and it can see right through the mountain. So anyways, you build the radar right up next to the mountain, and then you build a factory over here so you've got some forward processing, then you put down a gun just in case some bad guys show up, and another gun over here, and then you slap down 2 air turrets on the opposite side, and you hope that whoever's playing down here is also moving out to grab the mass and is on an outward trajectory. The most important thing you want to be doing is grabbing all of the mass points around your base. There are a million different strategies, a million different orders of operation, a million different ways that you can tackle this. But you really don't want to be sending more than one guy out to one spot. They're very quick to build, and they pay for themselves very quickly. Tech 1 mass extractors are very cheap to build, to run, and they pay for themselves almost instantly. You absolutely must go out and grab all of the mass nodes that are available. I'm not going down here because I'm pretending that I have an ally, and this lower section here would be where they were building out and up to. However, I do very often find myself building over here on my opponent's side of the map. But at any rate, again, getting ahead of myself. So you want to establish all of the mass spots, and then you want to pick probably one mass extractor and begin upgrading it. Upgrading mass extractors is a tricky business. It is the tricky business of this game. If it wasn't for this mechanic, this game would be easy and anyone could do it. But because managing your resources is a fine line to walk, this game's got a bit of a curve. So the first thing we're going to do is repair the damage that we've done to the Tech 1 mass extractor. If you upgrade it with half of its health, so when you upgrade it, it gets more health, but if it's halfway damaged when you upgrade it, it gets upgraded still with half of its health, and then it takes way longer to repair it because it has more health, and half is bigger when it's bigger. But anyways, you want to establish a power base. You want, I don't know, a dozen or so power plants, maybe not that many. Again, it depends on how many engineers you build. The more engineers you build, the more power it's going to suck. So you're going to select one of your mass extractors that you want to upgrade. Actually, you know what? Never mind that. You're going to select one of them. You're going to press Control Z. That selects all of them. Then you're going to select the mass extractor upgradable button, click it once, and then you're going to push the pause button. And all these little things have now got a little red cursor over them. They're still running. So even though it's not moving, if you hold your cursor over it, it still shows down in the corner that it's giving you a +2 energy. So it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it is. And while it's paused, it can still be upgraded. And once it's upgraded, it loses the little red paused thing. So now I can see very clearly on the map that this one is upgraded and none of the other ones are. So I can select a team of engineers who are good at walking around, and I can go right-click onto this one, and then hold Shift, and then right-click onto this one, and then still holding Shift, right-click, and these engineers will walk around going from mass extractor to mass extractor, and I can set this up with all of them. I can go down to here, and then they'll head up to here, head up to here, and they will go one by one to all of the mass extractors, upgrading them. This way, because the mass extractors will also upgrade themselves. You don't need to send engineers to upgrade them. This guy, if I unpause it by pressing Z or pressing the pause button down the bottom, will upgrade itself. And the commander can help too, because it's within his range. So, what was I just saying? Everybody's helping to upgrade. Right. The whole idea is that you want to do this one at a time. You don't want to do them all at once. Otherwise, you'll tank your economy. So when they're not building, my economy is at 100% mass. And then when they wander over here and start upgrading it, you'll see that my economy quickly tanks as each one of these engineers is trying to spend 5 mass a second. And I don't have 5 mass a second for each of them, so I'm down at 60%. But that's okay because everyone's focused on the same task. This is a big, there's a big difference between running your economy at 50% capacity when everybody is focused on the same task and running your economy at 50% capacity when everybody is doing their own thing. Because if you have everybody focused, even if it's at 50%, the goal is the same, so it'll get done quickly. But if it's at 50% and everyone's doing their own thing, you're essentially running an economy that's running at half speed. And that ain't good. So, things you can do to help boost your economy. So, let's see if these guys are going to tank it again. So yeah, we get down to 91. So let's just say that my economy was crippled. What I can do is I can take an engineer, I can hold down Alt, and I can right-click into an area, and he will immediately help. Alright. But, I'm going to send them away from these mass extractors so they don't start help building them. But if I hold down Alt and right-click, it'll give them a reclaim order. But yeah, they're just going to turn around and help, because my mass bar is full. These guys are kind of clever. If you don't need mass, they don't collect mass. But if you need mass, you can set them on either by pressing Alt, an attack move order that will get them to work in that area, or a patrol order by pressing P and then setting an area, and they will move around on a patrol however you set them, and collect all of the bits of rock that are on the ground. And bits of rock are very valuable. They're all over the place on this map. And sending engineers to the various piles of rock, so like I might click one over here, hold shift, and then press and Alt at the same time, and then right click, and that'll be a move to order, so he will move to this spot, and then he will make a reclaim move order to this spot, where he will reclaim all of the bits of rock that are in the area. And when there are no more bits of rock in the area, he will report as idle. Reporting as idle is done up in the top right hand corner. So right now, your commander is always shown in the top right hand corner, but because he's got the little yellow triangle, it means that he's not doing anything. He's just standing here, which is also not good. Walking is not good, and not building is not good. Where was I? So these guys are wandering around. They're about to do the last one. And so now my mass production is up at 51, which is great. And we're nearing the point where we can start transitioning the economy to a Tech 3. We are here skipping a lot of the battling stuff. I have set up some turrets and things, but this is mostly focusing on the economy and the progression through to make sure that you're covering your bases, because believe it or not, if you're watching this and it's rolling your eyes at how easy it is, you're probably, well, I mean, then you're probably also aware at how many people fuck this up all the time. So the next thing you want to do, or a thing you want to be doing along this route, is also upgrading these guys out here. You either want to build an air transport and transport the engineers out there to save some time, which is my preferred strategy, or they can just walk. I mean, if I select these two guys and tell them to go there, and then hold shift, click that and that, these two guys will very slowly make their way all the way to this mass extractor, upgrade it, and then wander up to here and upgrade these two. And I did say that collecting the mass is the most important thing. And the only reason I haven't focused on that is because I have no bad guys to fight. But I will send an engineer over here just to do it. I usually, when I'm playing on the Fields of Isis, my commander is the one who goes over here. I, just before recording this video, won a game in a fight at the middle. Or I killed my guy. I got here first, he got here second, he got killed by artillery and me, and then I swept... Well, actually, I got my transport and built a base up where his base was, and then attacked his ally from within his dead friend's own base. But anyhow, along the way, you want more mass storage. If you're producing plus 55 and you're not spending any, that means that you're wasting 55 mass a second, and that's no good. So you want a place to store that mass. You can, with engineers, not your commander, build mass storage units. They go around mass extractors. And if you get all 4 corners of them dead on, then it'll give you a 50% production bonus on your mass extractors. Now, these storage units are kind of expensive. They're available right away on Tech 1, but they're pretty expensive. And the return on investment on a Tech 1 power plant, like this guy's producing +2 mass, so if I build 4 mass storage around him, it goes up to a whopping 3. Not quite worth it. Whereas if I build the 4 mass storage around a Tech 2, it goes up to 9 over the 6 that is produced at 1 without, which is, you know, pretty substantial if you do it to every single one of them. And right now I'm using templates. We'll get to templates. I'm not going to go over templates in this video, but I'm using them right now just to very quickly slap down some of these. So if this is another thing, if you're worried about like giant building schemes being overwhelming, you can come into a game like this where there are no bad guys and you can set up build templates. Build templates are how I play the game. And they're quite wonderful. They allow you to do very complicated things like build defense grids. This is a fairly simple defense grid, a Tech 1. But anyways, you don't necessarily need to get all of your mass extractors up to Tech 2 to get yourself up to Tech 2. In fact, I usually go for Tech 2 on my commander after I have just 2 mass extractors up to Tech 2 and no mass storage units yet. I will select my commander, and down here, you see this? Enhancements. It's a little button. It looks kind of like the commander's torso. You click on it, and it opens up this little window here. There's 3 menus on this submenu. So, right arm, torso, left arm. The upgrades in here are very important. The Tech 2 Engineering Suite being my favorite one. This grants the commander more building options. I don't want these guys doing that. I want to help them to help. So they're going to come over to the commander. They're going to assist him in his upgrade. So he upgrades faster. They are adding 4 mass each to the upgrade. So it will just come tickety-boo. Quickly up. Little engineers leaving tracks. I always thought it was funny that this game bothered to put footprints and vehicle tracks. They do fade. They fade fairly quickly, as you saw. It didn't last very long there. So it's not long enough to like see troop movements or something. But anyway, it's for Tech 2 now, and so once you've gotten a few mass extractors up to Tech 2, you want to build a Tech 2 power plant. Now normally, we're at 27 minutes right now, and normally this would happen much faster, depending on what's going on. Especially if you managed to get to the center and collect all the mass and nobody opposed you, you can you use this mass to upgrade your mass extractors to Tech 2. You want to be getting there before you've got your last mass extractor even built. Like, I'm often here before these 2 are built. So this is a high priority. It's not when there's no bad guys around, but it is in an actual game. It's actually the #1 priority. If you don't come here and get the mass, the other guy gets the mass, and he will steamroll you. Because he will be able to use that mass to upgrade his mass extractors to Tech 2.
Enabled.
So, you just heard that. We just got a battery built somewhere, or something, or we just got enough power. But, you're overcharged. This is the #1 reason why you need batteries and power. Because if you get swamped by a whole bunch of Tech 1 tanks, or something that's just flimsy armor, but there's lots of them, you can use this overcharge cannon to ruin them. And no, he won't attack his own units. Come on, attack the ground. Attack the ground with your overcharge cannon. Okay, he's not doing it. Anyways, it's a really big explosive gun. It requires 5,000 power to fire it. Your base power storage is 4,000, so you cannot fire it without at least one battery. But it is strong enough to destroy Tech 3 ground units. Your commander is more than capable of defending himself against a large swath of very advanced units, so long as you have power and batteries to run his gun. His gun is expensive to run, but it recharges fairly fast, and if you've got the power for it, you can lay a smackdown with it. Your commander is quite formidable, and that is why I don't mind laying him down on the front line for the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game, and then I walk him back to my base, because I'm not an idiot. So, you upgrade some mass extractors, you build a Tech 2 power plant, you build a second Tech 2 power plant, you might even build a third Tech 2 power plant. It depends on how hairy things are. If things are super hairy, you want more power. If you're running shields and you're getting into fights on the front line and there's shit going on and you don't want to risk missing something on radar or something, I don't know, or if you don't want to spend a lot of time in a blackout, I guess is the best way of saying it, build a third Tech 2 power plant. But if things are kind of quiet and you've done some scouting and you're not worried about being attacked, you've made it to the point where you've got your 2 power plants, you're not worried, enhancements. Back down in the corner. You want to upgrade your commander. Every single commander has this upgrade. The Aeon and Seraphim commander have it twice, which is a very nice advantage. But the resource allocation system, every other commander also has it on their torso, where the UEF commander, this guy here, he has it on his arm. He gets it on his arm, which is actually quite a nice benefit, but then he doesn't get his big gun upgrade. His big gun upgrade is intimidating. It is very big. It also affects his overcharge cannon, the overcharge weapon I was just cooing about. It upgrades its damage as well, and it turns it into a monster of a gun. But for the purposes here, we're not fighting on the front line. We're worried about the economy. We've got our 2 power plants. We've got some upgraded mass extractors. We go for the resource allocation system. The resource allocation system is extremely expensive, and it takes a long time to build. So you want to get all of your engineers. Perhaps literally all of your engineers. Maybe not literally. Depends on what's going on. But you want as many of them as you can helping the commander. And you want, if you have, say, engineers out in other places, you want to pause them. You want to select all your engineers, say, press Z, that pauses them. You then can zoom in on these ones, double click these ones, that will select only these ones and not these ones out here, and press Z again, and that unpauses them, so they will assist, so that all of your available resources are all being dedicated just to upgrading your commander's resource allocation system. It requires a massive amount of energy. As you can see, I'm at minus 8,500. But I am spending pretty much 100% of my 1340 available allowance on that upgrade. So we are going to get through it. This is always a risky move because it's expensive, because it takes a long time, because it just destroys your power economy. All your radar is off, your shields are off. But oh, the benefits if you get it. You can, once you have the resource allocation system, reclaim all of your power plants. It's more reliable for Aeon and Seraphim because it can do this twice. They upgrade this system once, and then they get another option to do it again, and then they get twice as much benefit out of it. But even without the second option, once your commander is upgraded to the amount of power that he produces himself, is 3,320, which is enough that you can then reclaim all of your power plants. And if this was a real game, I wouldn't have this much mass, probably, and I would be very hungry for mass. And once I have the resource allocation system, I can select one of my Tech 2 mass extractors, preferably one that already has mass storage around it, and I can select it for mass 3, or Tech 3 upgrade. And I can use the mass for my Tech 1 power plants, and if I like, because I have such a giant surplus at the moment, I can even reclaiming, so I can use my engineers to reclaim buildings. If I don't want this power plant here, I can tell them, hey, reclaim this building. Use the reclaim button or the letter E on your keyboard, and you select it, and they'll just slowly chip away at it. But that's slow, and I don't like slow. I like fast. So if I really want to get rid of my power plants in a hurry, and I've just finished my resource allocation, I can press Control K on them, and they will self-destruct, and then I can just send an engineer over to them once it's done, and he will gather up the metal from this power plant, and it will be put towards this Tech 3 mass extractor. Once you have a Tech 3 mass extractor with mass storage all around it, you get 27 mass from it every second. This, however, is a bit... this is a bit tricky. So, the temptation is to get all of your mass extractors up to Tech 3. And I completely understand that. And I completely understand why, when I roll in with my army, everything is just finishing getting upgraded. Once I've got my first Tech 3 mass extractor, I switch my economy over to an aggressive mode. I will take everything I have and invest it in some attack. An airdrop, a frontal assault, an experimental unit. Yeah, that's the other thing. Usually also once I've gotten my resource allocation system, all my engineers are around me because they've just finished helping me get that upgrade. The first thing I'll usually do is get a Tech 3 engineering suite, and then instead of reclaiming my Tech 2 power plant, I will have them set up as they were set up, ready to be adjacent to something, and put a mass fabrication unit in there. And I will use the mass fabrication unit that I will build even before going for the Tech 3 mass extractor, so that I will have a Tech 3 mass fabrication unit that's sandwiched between some power plants, that's being powered predominantly by the energy that's produced from my commander's resource allocation system, and that's what will get me into Tech 3. Then I'll start making an experimental unit. If I'm playing Aeon and I've got both the resource allocation upgrades, I will reclaim all of my power, I will upgrade my commander to Tech 3, and the first thing I will do when I get just one Tech 3 mass pump is start building a Colossus. That, starting that early, usually means that I can have the Colossus at their gate just as they're finishing up their Tech 3 upgrades, if they haven't been paying attention. So, upgrading to Tech 3 is very, very expensive. It actually takes quite a while. Even at 27 mass a second, it takes quite a while for this thing to pay for itself. It does so, of course, more quickly if the mass storage units are already set up around it. And mass storage units are handy because you want to have you want a lot of capacity. I often build bricks of mass storage, of just a 4x4 grid for 16 of them, just because it's super handy to have an awful lot of mass, especially if you are playing a game where there's just a lot of resources. Because at some point you're going to want to spend all your resources, and if you can very quickly build an experimental unit, like a fat boy, if you can very quickly build one of these guys, it can catch people kind of off guard. If they fly over your base, they don't see anything's going on, then you start building one of these, and you get it done before their next flyover, it can be a bit of a shock. But this is a basic outline, and some basic information. I'm sure that I have forgotten a lot, but I hope that I've covered enough to show you your way through the early economy of the game. And I do still actually mean the early part of the economy, because it continues going even once all of your mass extractors are fully upgraded and all have their storage units around them. There are ways of getting more mass, and you will eventually, I will make a video on templates and these power flowers that I love to build. And can I speed this up? Good. This is another template that I like. It's a Tech 3 template. The first thing that it builds is a stealth field generator, so that anything that's built is not seen on radar. Of course, if they fly over it, they'll still be able to see it, but you'd be surprised at how often stealth comes into play. Stealth is kind of a weird thing. It's a Tech 2 unit or building that's available to all factions. Cybran also have a mobile stealth unit. It's hard to know what it's doing. You select it, and it's just this brown ring. That's all it is. But to the enemy, they can't see on radar anything that is under that brown ring. If they fly over it and they spot a building, they know that the building is there. Whether radar or not, buildings don't move around, and once they've spotted a building, they know that it's there. But all of the units, your commander, all your engineers, your army, should really always be underneath a stealth building. I use stealth an awful lot, and it's something that other people don't use an awful lot. Because it's hard to know when it's working. But it's always working, and you should have this brown bubble around your entire base. If I build a second stealth field generator here, it just extends the brown bubble. So it's not like overlapping annoying rings. It does the nice thing where it cuts off. There, see? I mean, I've got my settings up in the corner done to show all of the counterintelligence, omni, radar, sonar. I want these rings. These rings are handy to me. You might find them annoying, but I find them useful, so I like leaving the intel rings on. What else should I say? I've gone over a fair bit. Maybe too much for this hour-long video. I guess I will cut it off here. This is Supreme Commander. It is the best real-time strategy game ever made. This is an overview of how the early economy works and how you can find your way through mass production. I very often see people playing without upgrading their mass extractors at all. They just sit at Tech 1. Tech 1 are cheap, they pay for themselves very quickly, they're very efficient, so you want to quickly go out and get all the Tech 1 mass extractors, but leaving them at Tech 1 is a waste. You must get them to Tech 2 and then put storage around them. Getting to Tech 3 is a bit more, you want one or two, definitely. In the early game, this is again all early game. By the late game, you want all of them Tech 3 with mass storage around them. But these things are expensive, and you can slow walk them. You can even start building these power flowers before you get all of your Tech 3 up and running, because oddly enough, this is kind of less strenuous. But yeah, use your commander's resource allocation unit. Do not forget this option. It's down here under enhancements. You click on it, and it'll be very likely, depending on your faction, on the first row on the chest upgrades. But if you're playing UEF, it's on his arm. Some other notable upgrades: the gun upgrade, which is badass. His personal shield, which is very, very important. If you're just playing a game, wandering around, and not doing anything specific with your commander, you at the very least want the first level personal shield upgrade. I think it's like 10 times or something stupid more health that it gives you. Anyways, it's a great shield. It's fantastic. Or what? Oh, it says it right there. 24,000. And his health points are 18,000. So it's more than 100%. 150% upgrade on his health if you get that shield upgrade. The next level shield upgrade turns it into a bubble. It increases the shield strength by 50%, but then it's a bubble. And assassins can walk underneath your bubble and shoot you, so I don't even necessarily like the bubble upgrade. It's okay. Personal teleporter is great for getting around the map. Super dangerous. I love waiting for people to do this. On big games, on big maps, I am waiting for you. I know that this is an option, and I'm waiting for it. I'm not going to tell you what I'm waiting for it, but I'm always waiting. Personal shoulder drone. These two upgrades are actually pretty sneaky. It gives you flying in a no-flying game. Some people like to play, especially on this map, without any air. However, UEF cheat. These drones, the shoulder drones, can be built on a no-flying map. They sit on a shoulder, and they can fly around, and they can build things. They can't build very much. They can build less than your commander can build, I believe. And but they're still pretty handy. They can build factories. They can build turrets, which are nice. They can go out to the middle and collect the mass. Say you just want to not bother moving into the middle. You want to get there first by building maybe 5 power plants and a couple of engineers, and then get the engineers to help you, and you want to rush a shoulder drone. You get that shoulder drone early on, and then you fly him out here, and you just collect all the mass, and fuck fights. If the other commander shows up, he doesn't have anti-air weaponry, so he can't do shit. And, yeah, I mean, if they show up with anti-aircraft weaponry of any variety, then this guy gets shot down. But he flies in a no-flying game, so it's something people aren't expecting, and you can fly it all the way into the back corner of their base and start building factories, and if they don't have any radar in their own base, they can't see it, and it's... Oh, the hilarity that you can do with a shoulder drone from your commander, and he gets 2 of them. He gets to upgrade 1, and then he can upgrade the other one. When you're not sending the drone off on its own private missions, they just chill out with the commander and help the commander do whatever he's working on. Other upgrades, tactical missile launcher. This is actually a pretty sweet upgrade for your commander because it can be upgraded to nuclear. It's not actually that strong. I mean, it's impressive. It's a very bright light. I would actually argue that the most benefit from the Billy nuke is that you can blind your opponent. You can assist your commander with a shitload of engineers to build missiles very quickly, and just, like, his range comes up to here. If I just started firing missile after missile after missile after missile over here, and each one of them was going off with a nuclear explosion that turned this big bright white light, that's super distracting. I mean, never mind the damage that it can do. But yeah, he's got a tactical missile launcher built into him. The first one, it's about as expensive as the one that you build on the ground. So I don't usually go for this. Unless you're doing, like, funny shenanigans where you're in a lake attacking people with a tactical missile launcher, because you can do that submarine thing. It's pretty fun. But I don't often find myself in situations like that. He's also got the nano repair system, which is an upgrade you would only get if you were going to be fighting on the front lines. It's pretty expensive. It's not an early game upgrade. It's kind of like mid-early game, late mid, or early mid, late early. I don't know. But it doesn't allow you to get the Tech 2 engineering suite, and I would almost always rather have the Tech 2 engineering suite. The ability to build shields, build turrets. If I've got the Tech 2 suite, I don't need self-repair if I can slap down a shield and then build an engineering suite, kennel, and end up with even more drones that cheat. Because this is another cheaty drone building that the UEF have access to. So they're similar to these shoulder drones, but what are they called? They got some, like, R2-D2-like name. CD2, Rover 2. So these guys float around and they can assist buildings. They have no ability to build their own buildings, but they can fly anywhere on the map and build, or to assist the building of anything anywhere. And they can also reclaim mass. But because they're a Tech 2 building, you're not going to get to them in time to send them to the midpoint to gather that mass. The only way you do that with drones is with the shoulder drones. But yeah, these engineering buildings are fantastic. They are the reason why UEF players often amass such gigantic point totals. It's this building. But, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, I'll just thank you for watching me give you this intro to the best real-time strategy game that has ever been made. Before or since the high watermark, the place that games got to and have since been receding from. Supreme Commander, thank you for your time.